Hi everyone, it's Lindey. Okay, I think this is a video that a lot of you guys have been waiting for. It's a video all about the process of hiring my employee and just basically everything that she does for me, what I pay her, how the whole process works, and how it's going. I've been getting asked a ton of questions about it, and I've been really trying to hold off on doing a video about it until I had a better grasp of everything that was going on with it. So I think I've reached that point. So we're going to talk about everything, start to present. Okay, so the first question that I've been getting asked was, when do I know it's the time to hire an employee? Well, I can't tell you when the right time is for you. I can just tell you how I figured it was time for me. I knew that it was time for me when I went about 2 weeks only listing 5 to 10 things a week. Yeah, it became that hard. It was that hard. You know, when I don't have an out of the house job, I don't work outside of the home. And so to not be able to get up more than 5 to 10 items in a week, that's pretty pathetic. It is pretty pathetic. Because the only excuse that I really had was I was just so busy at home. That's the only excuse that I had. So at that point, when I feel it inside my soul to list and to grow my business, and I couldn't do it. It was like twisting my insides. I mean, it was just like, I mean, it was bad. It was bad. I wanted to grow so bad, and I wanted to list so bad, and I just couldn't find the time. It was bad. That is how I knew it was time to find help. Now, something that I had to decide also when I determined it was time to hire someone to help me out, you also have to make sure that you're ready financially. Because when you hire an employee, it is definitely a financial investment. It's a big financial investment because you're paying somebody up front before the things have sold yet. Therefore, it's an investment. You are investing in their ability, trusting that the items are going to sell. So, just like with any investment, and this is all my opinion, with any investment, if you're going to invest money into something, you almost have to be willing to lose that money. There's no such thing as a sure thing. There isn't. There's no such thing as a sure thing. You could pay someone to list 100 things, and those items might not either sell for what you wanted them to sell for, or they might not sell at all. There's always that possibility. There is no such thing as a sure thing. So when you invest, you almost have to be ready to just kiss that money goodbye because you don't know if you're going to get it back. So it's definitely scary. It is super scary, but you have to be willing to take that chance. And when I was willing to take that chance, I did it. I jumped in. I did it. So now let's talk about how I found her and the process that I went through when I hired her. So I did not put out an ad on Craigslist, and I did not put out an ad on the paper. I chose to put out my feelers in the local Facebook group page. It was actually the local buy, sell, trade page on Facebook. And I just put out that I was looking for someone to do data entry. I didn't say anything specific about the job. I said that I was looking for someone to do data entry, and they were able to work from their own home, but they had to have their own computer and they had to have their own internet connection, and they had to be able to reach given deadlines. And then the other little tidbit that I put in there is that I wanted them to email me for more information and please attach the resume or any qualifications that they might have for data entry. And basically how I went about selecting people for interviews is I just wanted to see if they could follow simple instruction. Really. Anybody that commented on that Facebook feed, hey, I'm interested. Hey, private message me. Yeah, people commented asking me to contact them. Yeah, no. If they want a job, they are going to contact me, not the other way around. It really amazes me how people's brains work. So I also ignored anybody that sent me private messages through Facebook, because in the listing I did say, I said listing like it's eBay, in the job posting, I also said, contact me via email. Do not message me through Facebook. I actually said that. I said, do not message me through Facebook. So anybody that sent me a message through Facebook, I did not contact. Anybody that commented, I did not contact. The only people that I contacted for a interview was the people that actually followed the directions and emailed me. That was it. The only people that got interviews were the people that emailed me their resume and asked for more information. That was it. So after about 50 comments and about 20 or so private messages that were ignored, I ended up with 7 people to contact for an interview. And out of those 7 people, I was only actually able to schedule an interview for 5 of them. So I had conducted 5 interviews. I did not want to do the interviews in their home or my home. Instead, I chose to meet them at Starbucks, which was just off of the highway here locally. And I figured, you know, it was also kind of an excuse to get a peppermint mocha at the time. So we met at Starbucks. And when we did the interview process, when I contacted them for the interview, I did make sure to tell them exactly what the job was, because I didn't want to schedule an interview with somebody if they had absolutely no interest in doing the job. So when I contacted people to make the interview, when I called them, I, said who I was, told them I was calling to find out if they wanted to meet up about the job, and then asked them if they wanted to know more about the job beforehand. And of course, they always said yes. And so then at that point, I would tell them exactly what it was. I would tell them who I was, what I did, and what I needed them to do for me. And then after I told them all of that, I would then ask them, are you still interested? And if they said yes, then we went forward and scheduled the interview. So at the interview, again, I just reiterated what the job entailed. I made sure that they had their own internet at home. I made sure that they had their own computer, and I made sure that there was no smokers in the house. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys saw my previous video about the first person that I had hired that turned out to be a major fail because they smoked around the clothing. So you can't always trust what they say, because people will try to lie just to get the job. This guy, I asked him point blank if he smoked or if anybody in the house smoked, and he told me no. I even tried to smell him. That was going to be my next little tidbit of advice for you guys. Even though they say no, be creepy. Try to smell them. This guy in particular, he didn't smell like cigarettes, so I thought he was telling me the truth. Turns out that was a big fat lie. But, whatever. They lie, they get one over on you, you can move on. At least I found out after the first day, right? Right. So anyway, those were the main things that I asked, was to make sure they had their own computer, their own internet, and they were not smokers. And then I also talked about what their availability was like, when they would be willing to work, because I did make it clear in the listing that they were going to work on their own time, but they were still going to have to meet deadlines. I didn't want to give them a couple of bins of stuff and just let them complete it at their leisure and I don't get it for 2 weeks. That's not, that's not what it was going to be about. I was prepared to give them the ability to work at their leisure from their own home, but they had to complete the project within a certain amount of time. So, we made sure to discuss that. So I, talked to them about what their availability was like. The beauty of this job is that it's very flexible. It's very flexible. So when you talk to somebody about their availability, you guys can kind of mingle your availability a little bit and find out what's going to work. And that's what I ended up doing with the lady that I hired that is working out. She has her availability, I have my availability, and we kind of intermingled them to find out what was going to work for both of us. And it's working out great. So you also want to find out from these people if you're going to be able to work with them, if they're going to be able to follow simple instruction. That's why I put that little bit in the listing. I just wanted to see if they would be able to follow a simple instruction, like just emailing me and not sending me a private message or not, commenting on the feed, asking for more information. Because if somebody can't follow a simple instruction, like send me an email, how is somebody going to be able to follow a simple instruction like how to create a listing, or if they didn't do something right, be able to correct it for later? You need to make sure that somebody's competent. You also need to make sure that they are able to type, which is not a question that, you can ask it, but someone's idea of being able to type versus your idea of being able to type is not always the same thing. You might say, can you type? And to them, that means being able to type 30 words per minute, but to you, maybe it's 60 or 70 words per minute. So you might also want to talk about that as well. The good thing about eBay, though, and creating listings is there are a lot of drop-down menus, and there's not really a need to do a whole lot of typing. So the ability to type 60 words per minute might not be relevant to you, but you want to make sure that when they type, they don't type like this. Oh, let's say you found the person. Now, what are they going to do for you? Okay, so the lister, drafter, assistant, whatever you want to call her, I just call her Melissa because that is her name. I determined what I needed her to do for me at the time when I hired her. When I first hired her, I had determined all that I needed from her was the ability to upload photos that I would take. She would need to just put in a basic title like men's Ralph Lauren polo size extra large. Very basic. That's it. And then everything else was going to be auto-filled. I'll get into that in a minute. But a lot of the general information was already going to be auto-filled, like the business information, like the return policy and the PayPal information and the shipping. All that stuff was going to automatically be generated. So all she was going to need to do, and I'm actually going to run through this in my brain and tell you. Okay, so the title, basic title, men's polo Ralph Lauren size extra large. And then the item description, short sleeve, red and white striped polo shirt, size extra large, and then the measurements. She does do measurements, and then the measurements, the chest measurement and the length measurement. And then everything else was self-populated, and then she was going to do the drop down. She was going to do the brand, she was going to do the size, she was going to select the category, she's going to select the store category, if it's short sleeve, long sleeve, the material, all that kind of stuff. And then she was going to do the condition description where she would say, it's pre-owned, and then no rips or stains, or if there's a small hole somewhere, she would say that there was a small hole somewhere. And then she would upload the photos and rotate the photos as needed or crop as needed and save. That's it. That's all she has to do. That's all she's got to do. So for that, I had determined paying her 75 cents per draft. And then as time went on and she got the hang of that, we started talking about doing pictures. Oh, I'm so sorry if I'm going to be like jumping around. how many listings was she going to do? That was going to be dependent on how many items I was going to get photographed. Sometimes I would be able to photograph more than others. Whatever I was able to get photographed, that was going to be her load. So then though, we did start talking about doing photographs, and in which case she was going to start taking the photographs as well, which increased her draft fee from 75 cents to $1.25 if she did the photos. So that's currently what she does for me. She takes the photos, she uploads the photos, and she puts in all of the basic store information. Not store information, item information. Oh boy. Now also, I did forget to mention that she does only do clothing items. I do not have her do any hard goods yet. That I handle all on my end. I figured giving her just clothing items would keep it nice and uniform for her, and she could just do the same kind of thing over and over again. So now let's talk about how we handle drop-offs and pickups. Her availability is a little bit different than I expected when I first went looking to hire somebody. When I first went looking to hire somebody, I was hoping to do daily drop-off and pickups 4 to 5 days a week. Well, with her, that's not going to work out. She does have a 9-to-5 job all throughout the week. Monday to Friday, she actually works in Manhattan, and she doesn't get home until 6 or 6:30 Monday to Friday. So most of the work that she does is on the weekends. So while she was just doing the drafts and no pictures, I would drop off things to her on Thursday or Friday, and then I would pick things up on Monday evening. And that's kind of how we did it. She didn't really work during the week. She just did her weekends. That's when she would crank out the listings for me. So I would drop things off to her Thursdays or Fridays, and then pick up on Mondays. That's how we did it for the longest time. And again, I only dropped off to her what I was able to get photographed. Well, that started to change when I started getting busy again and I wasn't able to really get out a lot of photographs. It was starting to get to the point where I would only be able to do like 50 a week. And I know that she really wanted to do more than that because she was kind of using this income as, as her side hustle. She, wants to pay off some bills. And so where she was okay with only doing 50, she did want more. She did want more. And that's when we started talking about her taking photographs as well. Because if she's taking photographs, then I can really just give her whatever I want her to have or whatever she wants to have. So when she started doing photographs for me, the pickups and the drop-offs changed. She and I discussed how many listings she thought she would be able to do. And she thinks, and she has been doing 150 a week. The drop-off and pickups have changed since she started doing 150 a week. Now, 150 a week means that she gets 6 bins, 25 in each bin. And we have been doing the exchanges on Mondays. And that's the only day. Because what ends up happening is she takes all of the new stuff and she photographs it during the week, and then she lists them or does the draft on the weekends. So after she gets home from work, Monday through Friday, that's when she's taking pictures. She'll do like 1 or a little more than 1 bin photographed after work every day. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, she drafts just like she was before. So on Mondays, that's when I will take 6 bins to her and pick up what she's done. Or she's even come to my house, which has been, that's like an extremely sweet gesture of her. She knows that I'm busy, or if I've got my hands full, because Mondays are pretty busy, she'll say my husband and I'll just bring him over. And so we will literally, it's so funny, as she and her husband are unloading 6 bins, they're sitting them in the driveway. My son and I, or my husband and I, will bring out 6 bins and set them in the driveway. And we will literally swap bin for bin. It's so funny. It's like this assembly line. It's like this, our neighbors probably have to be like, what the hell's going on out there? But it works. It's a once a week thing. She takes 6 bins, brings me 6 bins. Or I take her 6 bins and I pick up 6 bins. So, and we do that on Mondays. And it's working out. it's working out great. And she's kicking butt with it. I'm actually having to keep up with her. So it's great. So now that I mentioned that she does take photos for me, I did want to tell you guys how that is all handled. I did purchase her own background and her own lighting kit, and I did give her my camera to use. I know, I know you guys. But the thing of it is, I came to kind of know her and trust her over the last few months because she has been drafting for me since the start of the year. So I feel comfortable letting her keep that stuff at her home. And it does require a certain amount of space. She is dedicating one of her guest rooms to my business. So I am extremely thankful of that. You know, she has a background set up on her wall. She has a hook set up on her wall. She has 2 umbrella lights. She keeps my camera. I gave her a backup battery with the battery charger. You know, I have given her all of this stuff to keep at her house. And, you know, I'm really hoping it doesn't come back to bite me in the butt. If it does, if the camera breaks, if the lighting kit's bust, then, you know, I've probably lost about $300 because I gave the camera that she is using, I bought for $200 on eBay. And then, you know, the lighting kits are $55 and the background was like $20. So if something goes bad with it, I've lost like $300. But she's not just some person that I hired off the street and I just gave it to her right away. You know, she and I have been building up a relationship for the last few months, so I was comfortable letting her use it. You know, she's always very respectful. Her husband is very kind. She is very kind. My kids love her. So she doesn't seem to be a bad person. I completely trust it. So that's how we handle the taking of the photos. She does keep all of my equipment at her house and she takes the pictures that way. And I did spend an evening showing her how I wanted the pictures taken. So that's how the pictures are taken care of now. That's how it's done. When she was only doing the drafts and not taking the pictures, I was paying her 75 cents per draft. And now that she's taking pictures, I have bumped it up to $1.25 per draft with the photos. How did I come to determine paying her that price? That is also a question that I get a lot. And this is how I came to determine it. I really didn't want to spend more than 25% of my average profit per piece on an assistant. I figured that 25% I was willing to part with to get that kind of help. So my average profit per piece is around somewhere between $6 and $6.50 per item. So $125 is right around 20% of that. And when it was just drafting, when she wasn't taking pictures, I didn't want to spend more than 10 to 15%, which came out to, you know, about 75 cents a listing. It's going to depend on where you live as well. You don't want to underpay somebody, but you also kind of don't want to overpay somebody. You know, I kind of used a guide for myself, like how many I can do. I figured, you know, if I'm not having to take pictures, I'm able to draft, you know, 10 to 12 things an hour, which at 75 cents per draft, that comes out to over $10 an hour. I figured that was more than fair. And it's kind of a going rate in the area. So that was good money. You just kind of have to play with the numbers. You have to see, you know, what a good living wage is for your area. You have to be able to determine what you're willing to part with. You know, I know that Anna, Boondoggle Bliss, I know that she pays her drafter $2 per listing, but that also has to do with where they live. You know, it's just going to depend on a nice living wage and how generous you are when it comes down to it. But that is how I determined what I was going to pay her. I just didn't want to pay, I was committed to paying less than 25% of my net profit per piece, which came out to around about $1.25. So that's what I pay her, $1.25 per piece that she drafts. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, that great big gray elephant. Is she legit or is she under the table? she's legit. She's legit. I am not paying her under the table. I have had this discussion with my CPA, and we are totally playing by the rules. She is not being paid under the table. Basically, she's filled out a W-9, which if you have somebody that is working for you, and you are going to be claiming it on your taxes, you want to make sure that they do a W-9 if you are paying them more than $600 over the course of the year, which I clearly will be paying her more than $600 over the course of the year. So she does fill out a W-9, and then what will happen next year, since we have this whole year still left to go, what's going to happen in 2017 when it comes time to do taxes for 2016, I'm going to take the W-9 that she has filled out, I'm going to give it to my CPA. My CPA is going to process it for a low fee, and they're going to send her a 1099. That's how it's going to be done. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And I also would like to point out, if I'm bumping things. If you are going to hire somebody to help you, I just need to tell you these two things, okay? Firstly, you don't have to have a business license. You do not have to have a business license in order to send someone a 1099. You don't have to. I am just a Joe Schmo off the street who resells and pays taxes on the profits. And I pay someone to help me. Where it does start to get a little is if you pay somebody hourly. If you're paying somebody hourly, it is more like they are a legitimate employee of a company. But if you're just paying somebody by the piece, it's considered a commission. And yes, I spoke with my CPA about all of this. This information might vary depending on the state you live in, so I do recommend that you see a CPA and not just take my advice for it. I am just telling you what I am planning to do, what my CPA advised me to do, so on and so forth. I am not an accountant, and it could vary depending on where you live and the size of your business and how much you plan to pay your employee, and so on and so forth. There is my disclaimer. There it is. There it is. It's out there. Go see a CPA if you have questions. But how I am handling the situation is she has filled out a W-9. She is going to get a 1099 at the end of the year. Now, what I was starting to say before I ran off into my disclaimer tangent, it's really to your benefit to claim it on your taxes, not just because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Not just that, but all of the money that I pay Melissa is tax deductible for me. I don't have to pay taxes on it, which will only help me come tax time, because every penny that I pay her, I won't have to pay taxes on. So it helps. So that is how that is getting handled where it comes to the whole legit or under the table thing. That's that. But again, I have to say, I am not a CPA. I am not a tax professional. If you have further questions about it, please go see a CPA when it comes to hiring somebody. But since I am not paying her hourly, I am not staffing her. She is paid on commission only, which means she just fills out a W-9, and my CPA is going to send her a 1099, or he's going to file it, and a 1099 will be sent to her come tax time next year. Moving on. The next thing that I wanted to address is a question, a comment, whatever you want to call it, about creating competition for yourself locally. That is a very big concern, because once you hire somebody, it's almost like taking them under your wing and they start to learn the business. And then you run that risk of somebody seeing what you do and wanting to just copy the system and do the same thing that you do for themselves so that they can make more money. So that is a risk that you run hiring help. Am I personally concerned about it? No, I am not personally concerned about it. Mainly because I see how busy she is with her day-to-day, and I don't really feel like it's something that she wants to tackle herself. She is not really sure how eBay works. She's not really sure how the pricing works, how the auctions work. She doesn't really understand how to ship things out. So I'm not really worried about her taking that over and doing that for herself. You know, as a matter of fact, I have done my part to kind of shield her from that just in case. You know, I don't involve her in any of the shipping. I don't really go in detail about the business. I don't really tell her how pricing works. I don't tell her if I'm doing auctions. I don't tell her if I'm doing buy it nows. I don't tell her if I'm doing best offers. I don't include her on any of that information. Literally, the only thing she does is takes the pictures, uploads them, and inputs the item details. That's it. I don't include her on anything else. She doesn't have any idea what my profit margins are. She has no idea how much work is really involved, because if she did, she probably wouldn't want to do it anyway. But, you know, that's why I'm not so worried about creating competition for myself, for those primary reasons. Also, something else is, if you do hire an employee, you do need to make sure that you protect your eBay account. That is a big deal. eBay does not give you the ability to set up staff accounts. So if somebody is going to be listing within your eBay account, that means that they will have full access to your eBay store, which means they would have the ability to purchase things in your account or go in and fiddle with your account. And that doesn't sound very good. No. Especially if it's a new employee that you have not yet built up any trust with. That's a lot of power to give somebody that you don't know. That's a lot of power to give someone that's kind of a complete stranger. So the only way to avoid giving that much power to a complete stranger is one of two ways. The first way being not hiring a complete stranger, hiring a friend or a family member that you really, really trust and know. But then you run the risk of, oh, I hired a friend or a family member. What happens if they're doing things wrong or if they're not doing it right? Are you going to have the cojones to actually tell them that they are doing it wrong and tell them what they need to do to fix it? Are you going to have the huevos to fire them if they need to be fired? Is it going to create some sort of a dynamic that you don't want to have with a friend or a family member? There is that risk. That is another reason why I decided to hire somebody I don't know, because then I don't have to worry about that. So that leaves you with option number 2, which is using a third-party listing site to do all of your drafts for eBay. I have personally chosen to do InkFrog, and I'm really loving it. I spend, I believe I use I think it's the Premier account, and it's $18 a month, and I really enjoy it. It links directly with eBay, and Melissa is able to do all of the drafts and uploadings into InkFrog. InkFrog does provide you with staff accounts, so you can actually limit the access that they can see. You know, if you don't even want them to see the dashboard, they won't see the dashboard. They won't see what sales you've gotten that day. They won't be able to open your messages. They won't be able to see your active items. The only thing they'll be able to do is draft. You can even lock them down so that they can't even accidentally activate a listing. So that I really enjoy. I also enjoy the fact that InkFrog does have templates, so that in the item descriptions you can have like the pictures, you can have special headings, you can have all of your detailed information in this cool little funky template. And it is still mobile friendly. I will just add that in there. So I do enjoy using InkFrog. There are other sites. I can't really give any information just because I honestly don't know what they are. I went with InkFrog right off the bat because my dad has used InkFrog for over a decade. So I just naturally went with InkFrog because I had heard good things about it and I knew that my dad had used it. So I just went with InkFrog. I know that there's others out there. I don't know how they compare. I haven't had any problems with InkFrog. I've been enjoying InkFrog, so I'm sticking with InkFrog for now. And lastly, has hiring an assistant helped? Do I regret it in any way? How is it going? You guys, it's the best thing I ever did. And I'm not even like over exaggerating. I'm really not. I love her and everything that she does for me. I I am so thankful for her, and best decision I ever made, hands down. Because she has drafted for me ahead of time, because she has uploaded the photos, she has put in all of the item specifics, she has rotated photos, she's done all the little drop downs, she's gotten everything started for me. I can now list 35 or 40 items in an hour. Yeah, that's right. I said 35 to 40 an hour. An hour. Going from 10 a week to 40 an hour. The next question is, have my sales increased since I have started utilizing her? I will have to say no. They have not increased. Well, they've increased a little bit, but they haven't increased anything significant. But I can tell you why. Because up until the last 2 weeks, I really haven't been listing any more than I normally would have listed, in all honesty. You know, I wasn't giving her more than, 50 or 80 items to do a week, which means I wasn't listing more than 50 to 80 items a week. So if I'm only listing the same amount as I was listing before hiring her, of course my sales really aren't going to increase. But over these last 2 weeks, since she has started doing such a significant amount more, that's when we'll be able to see my numbers start to go up. So at this point, she is still an investment for me. So basically, I'm still taking all of my profits and pumping them back into the business by utilizing her. I'm using all of my profits to pay her. Am I going in the hole? No. But I'm really not making money right now either. This is just a constant investment. I'm using my profits to pay her and keep the listings coming. Still an investment. But the fact of the matter is, I do not regret hiring her. It is one of the best things that I have done for my business. It has saved me so much stress and so much headache. And above all, it's allowing me to list more without increasing my work hours, which is phenomenal for a mother or a father, because that means that I don't have to take away time with my kids. I don't have to lose more sleep to be able to list more. If I didn't have her drafting for me, if I wanted to increase the number of listings I was doing every day, I would either have to take time away from my kids or I would have to lose sleep, because that would be the only way to list more, because obviously you only have so many hours in a day, right? In closing, am I glad that I did it? Yes. I am so thankful that I hired her. I am so thankful for her, and she does a fantastic job. She also fixes what I tell her she needs to fix. Without question, she does it right the next time. It's amazing. So, would I encourage you to hire help if you're really struggling? Absolutely. I honestly don't think I could go back to doing it the old way. I don't know. I don't know if I could go back to doing it the old way. I've fallen in love with what she does for me. It's just, I don't think I could go back. But if you are going to hire somebody, you need to make sure, number one, that you can afford it. Because again, I say it is a very big investment, because you are paying up front for things that have not sold yet. It is an investment. Would I recommend hiring somebody and having them do 150 a week? Probably not. You might want to start off slow so that the investment is less. You also have to determine what you're going to hire them yourself. You need to know what you can afford. You need to know what you can afford to lose and what you can afford to spend. You also need to make sure that you don't overspend, because if you overspend and you run out of money, then you don't have the money for sourcing and you have to wait for those items to sell. And if you have to wait for those items to sell before you can source more to give to your employee is not going to have any work to do, and you might run the risk of losing that employee if you have nothing for them to do. Yeah, that could be a big problem. So I would always encourage somebody to hire help, not only because it helps you, but because it helps somebody else. I feel so good every time I hand Melissa money, because I know that she needed that money to pay a bill. She's paying down debt, or if she needed it to pay her car payment, it's helping out somebody else. So that also feels really good. So only you can determine whether or not you should hire somebody. It's going to depend on how much work you have, how much stuff you have to list, if you can spare the money, or if you could risk losing that money. That is all up to you. But for me, I have not regretted it. I love it. It's just the best thing that I've done for my business, hands down. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this video helped you out. I hope it answered a whole bunch of questions that you might have had. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and let me know. If you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to leave them in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed to me yet, I hope you will. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I will see you with my next video. Bye.